All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to an onX Advanced Masterclass. I see you guys are already filling up the chat, so thank you for letting me know where you are all from. My name is Talon Sai, if you're not familiar. Most people know me from the YouTube space, Instagram, all kinds of social media. I'm like full-time adventure, got quite a few vehicles, and I am regularly traveling around the country. So see, we got someone from central Pennsylvania. That's where I started my life. And I'm now living in the Denver area of Colorado. We got a little bit more public trails out here, public land. So I've gravitated west as a lot of adventure style people like to do. Got people from West Virginia, Arkansas, Texas. Love it. I've probably been to your state before. I've actually ended up camping in 49 states except Hawaii. Have not visited Hawaii yet. So we're just going to kill a little bit of time here. Let us know where you're from. And we're going to start right at 6 o'clock. And we're going to dive into a lot of really cool features that I think you guys will find useful when it comes to spring planning. Also, when you're typing in the chat where you're from, let me know what vehicle you drive. I'm a big car guy, so I'm into a lot of different things. I'll actually show you my own garage here on onX too, so we can talk about that stuff. Ooh, we got an Xterra. Love the Xterras. Saw someone has a Rivian. Wild choice for overlanding. I feel like that would be a lot of fun. And a Crosstrek. I used to have a Crosstrek too. We're getting some wild spring weather in Colorado right now, so if you hear hail on the windows behind me, just know I'm okay. It's like sunny and then raining and then hailing. It's wild out here. So let's take a look at the map right now. If you guys are having trouble seeing my cursor or anything, I'll try to base everything on the crosshairs here on my screen. I don't really consider this an advanced feature, but if you guys want to dive into the settings of your map over here on the left-hand side, you can change your units, your GPS measurements, and this is where I turned on to show my crosshairs. Just some cool little things over here on the side too. A legend, if you are watching this advanced class, but maybe you're not an advanced user yet, you can see difficulty ratings, what different map markings mean, and a lot of different things over here. Someone said they can't see my screen. I feel like you might be able to see my screen. We all good on that end? Can you guys all see? Okay, good. All right, so my map right now is a pretty blank canvas. When you open up onX, you're going to see things with like the standard filters on and everything. I'm around here in the Denver area. So we're going to start by talking about importing and exporting files. So if you are thinking about trying onX, but you have a lot of data saved up from some other application and you don't want to lose that stuff, you're going to be able to import that based off of two different files into onX and have all of your information saved, color coordinated, and things like that already. So over here under my content on the left-hand side, you'll notice that I have a lot of different stuff actually hidden. Let me show you what my map actually looks like. So I'm going to back up here so you can see the whole country, and I'm going to show all of my data points. As you can see, I spend a lot of my time out west. I have explored a lot of these other areas, but that was years back before I was even using onX. And you can see I've got waypoints all the way up through Alaska, different places I've camped and explored. So I've got a lot of really cool information on here. We're going to hide that for now just to make things a little bit easier to see. And we're going to import something new. So if you guys have been following onX on social media, specifically YouTube, you may have noticed their Rugged Adventure series where creators will put together a route, go explore that route, make videos and kind of document things along the way, and then actually share that route with you guys. So I am in the process of doing that. About a month from today, the start of June, I started creating a route that you guys are going to be able to take yourself. So we're going to dive into like kind of live planning, and I'm going to just brain dump on you my thought process for going through different things like this. So now importing. I have a few waypoints and a route saved already in a file on my desktop. So right here under my content, you click on import, and then you can drag and drop a KML or a GPX file, or you can just select it from your computer. So I'm going to select the information that I need. It's a GPX folder, GPX file, and then I'm going to put that here, click import. Depending on how much data you have, as you can tell, that was very quick. It's basically just a route and 4 waypoints as of right now, but this is going to be kind of the start of my rugged adventure here. So you'll notice there's a few waypoints on here and a route. And my idea for this was basically to run the Rim Rocker Trail, which goes from Western Colorado into Eastern Utah, but I don't want to drive the same route that I've done in the past. Rim Rocker, very famous trail. Actually, if we zoom in and click on it a little bit, you guys probably have seen all of this already, but it gives you all of the info about the trail, what it's accessible by, photos that people have taken when they went and scouted this out. And then under trail reports, we'll be able to see if there are any issues. So about 15 days ago, like the middle of April, someone reported that it was obstructed with deep snow. And I'm assuming that would be in the kind of higher mountainous regions. Could have been around the La Salles. It could have been on the Uncompahgre over here on this side of Colorado. So before you're going out and checking out these trails, you can get a decent idea of what the conditions are going to be like with the trail reports. Weather is something that I also look at pretty frequently. This trail is obviously huge and it spans through a bunch of different areas, but a smaller trail, I'm actually going out this weekend to a place in Colorado. I actually like getting my weather reports from here because a lot of times, if you just GPS locate the nearest town, it's not going to give you accurate data for where the trail is. So here you can get like a full forecast days in advance, basically like just a normal weather app, but it's going to be a little bit more zoned in on the trail that you're going to be actually checking out. So here's the data that I have imported. I actually did make some changes already. So the rim rocker runs pretty much straight across the screen here, starting over here at the right point, and then it ends over here. But you'll notice I created a little spur trail going around the backside of the La Salle mountain range here. So I'm actually going to take this point here. I'm going to edit that and actually move it to my new location. So I actually want to end up here, not in the town of Moab, but just outside. Save that. Very easy fix there. I'm sure you guys have all done that before. Now, say you have all this information and you want to export it, or maybe you're exporting it from another app. It's going to be fairly similar to this. I can go under my content, and then I can start selecting different things that I've created. So here I have the green waypoints. This is actually showing me everything, but you'll notice a little hidden icon here. So I know it's not going to be any of those points that I want. This is just a kind of a speedier way to scroll through tons of data. You'll see how many waypoints I have here scattered all across the country. We're going to find the ones that are not hidden, and that's what I want, like right here, the Rugged Adventure route. And then all I have to do is click export. You can pick a KML or a GPX file and then save that. I'm not going to save that because I already have it on my desktop, but yeah, that is a very easy, straightforward way to export everything that you need. Now, next thing we're going to be talking about is organizing your trips, waypoints, and routes using folders and notes. So let me actually show you another quick trick here because I just kind of breezed over it. I'm actually going to go in here and delete these points. Actually, we'll keep the new point there because that's one that I've already edited. I'm going to go in here. We're going to jump ahead, actually. Let's go into bulk editing. So here I can select multiple points. I know I want to keep my end point. We're going to remove the start, the late camp, and the border camp. Might as well also delete the route. So I'm going to get rid of all that information just like that. I still have the route line on top of here. I missed that one, delete. Okay, now we're going to import the same folder that I just did. So if you're tuning in late, this is how you import. Going to select from my computer, pick the GPX file, upload. And now here there's an option to import it to a new folder. I should have done this from the beginning because we're talking about organization and keeping all of your data combined. So we're going to import that into a new folder. And then we're going to do that import again. Give it a little time to load here. Everything populates. And now I have this old waypoint here. I actually don't want that as a part of this. So under my content tab here, this is the new import that I just did. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to edit the folder name. We're going to call this Sci Rugged Adventure, Colorado to Utah. Going to save that. Under the waypoints, that last one that I imported, I obviously don't want that. So I'm going to just remove that from the folder. I'm actually going to delete that because I won't be using that point at all. And now I have this point here. So this is one that I've created and I need to add that to my folder now. So if I go back to my waypoints and pick, let's see where it is, the end right here. I'm going to add to a folder. I'm going to add it to the folder that I just created. Sorry, I realize I may be going a little bit too quick here. So if you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. But now I moved that new waypoint into the folder and now I have everything saved right here. So when you're importing, we're going to go a little bit deeper here. When you're importing things from, say, another application or even from onX, you'll notice that this route is actually formatted as a line. And I want to get this thing back into a kind of like route builder function. So I'm going to just start a new route over here on the side. I'm going to click build route. Since that one's red, we'll just make this pink for now, just so I can actually see it. And I'm going to start dropping points along this route. Let's go over to here. And then you'll see that pink highlight there. So I know I'm actually doing this in the proper fashion. Click on that again. And then I deviated from the actual trail that we're kind of trying to mimic up into this new trail over here. So we're getting off the rim rocker. This trail right here, I actually scoped out ahead of time. This is pretty gnarly. I think it's going to be like a 6. So that's going to determine what vehicle I'm going to be taking on this trip. This doesn't have to be exact because I know I'm going to be deviating from this route a little bit. This is a point where I want to get back to a fuel stop because we're about halfway along this route. And essentially, I'm just going to keep following this all the way along this route. I'm just going to do it kind of rough for now. And then I can come back in and clean this up later if I need to make any adjustments. So this is a part where I'm really deviating from the original rim rocker route. I'm going to be a little bit more careful about where I place here because I know there are some things along this route that I want to see. And there we have an actual route built. I'm going to call this Rugged Adventure Route. We'll leave it pink for now. That way I can tell the difference between the two and we'll save that. Now I'm going to go back to my content, go back into the folder. I know this route that I just built on top of, this route is actually a line. So I'm going to remove that from the folder. I'll actually delete that from all of my content as well. So Rugged Adventure Route, we'll just delete that. And now I'll go back into my actual routes and we're going to add this one to my folder. That will make sharing a lot easier in the future. So pretty in-depth on how you do that. Hopefully that made sense to you guys. But now I have like a clean basic start to the route with 2 camp spots scouted out in there. And there's still a lot more that you can do. This may look a little crazy to you because there's so much data on here. So going back to what I was talking about with the filters, I'm actually going to go up into here and we're going to change. Let's do difficulty rating first. We'll just do easy because I know the rim rocker, I believe, is like a 3 on the onX scale. So that gets rid of a lot of information and it just cleans up the map quite a lot. You'll notice all of the custom colors too. I could leave this as pink because I know no other route is going to be pink on a map. If you look at the legend again down here, if it's an extreme route, which we have hidden right now, that could technically show up as red. So pink is actually a decent color if you're trying to find a color that is not going to conflict with anything else that you may see. I prefer doing my routes in red. Just something, I don't know, I like to see it on my dash when I'm actually connected to CarPlay. So I'm just going to change that to red. That way everything is kind of normal for me. You'll notice that the start and end of the trip, I actually use the little kind of Jeep icon, which is for a 4x4 road. And there are basically countless options when it comes to choosing icons for things. These I have as camping, the camping icon. But if you click more over here, there are so many different things that you can choose from: restrooms, restaurants, RV parks. I like to use the Sasquatch icon on my maps for some things that are like kind of funny or interesting spots that don't really have an icon that fit with it. So as I am planning this whole rugged adventure a little bit deeper, I'll go in and kind of see if I can find any, like, let's say there's water crossings. I know there's going to be water crossings up here. Once we get into the Utah area, there's probably like 23 different creek crossings on this section. This is not super important, but if you get into an area where there's like a really big river crossing, it may be interesting to mark. So say right here, this is a really big river. I know it's not, but we're going to drop a waypoint there. I'll color it blue because blue for water, obviously. And then I'll scroll down and find something that looks like it will fit. Swimming, don't plan on swimming there, but water crossing, perfect. So now I can also add that to the folder and just keep everything nice and neat so I know what to expect when I'm out on the trail. Someone asked, what tool do you use to build the new pink route? So that is the onX Offroad Route Builder. I'll give you like a real quick demo of that. Let's say we want to link up these 2 trails here. The route builder is over in your tools over on the right-hand side. You click on build route. You can name it. I'll just do test route. We'll make that pink. And now all you have to do is put your crosshairs where you want to drop the point and click on it. So we're starting here. This is the start point. I'm actually going to have to take a normal road here. So you'll notice too, there's actually, there's a point draw and a snap to. I like using snap to because it's going to go directly to a road. So say I want to go all the way up to the point directly north on the border here. If I come straight up, it actually is keeping me off road for most of the time. So I can drop a point there, and that's an easy way to string both of these trail systems together. However, if I need to stop somewhere for fuel, let's say there's like a fuel stop over here just off the pavement, I can undo that and actually come over here, drop a point at a gas station, and then say I want to start from the beginning of this trail, I can come over to it here, snap onto that, and then continue snapping points however I see fit. Sometimes it's going to take the path of least resistance, like it is right here. You'll notice that it's sending me back from my last point and then up through, again, the path of least resistance. But I want to see this canyon up here. So I'm going to go up to kind of like these little peaks on the canyon and just continue on just kind of slowly, making sure I'm actually going where I want to go. And then you can pick your color. You can make it a dotted dash line. You can choose the line weight and then save that. And now you have that saved in your content for the future. So that was a quick kind of route builder section for you guys. And I've done videos on that in the past. There's a lot of content on the onX YouTube channel, so you can find that in the future as well. I highly recommend playing around with that because I use it quite a lot and it's really fun once you actually start planning a route. So let's see. Stylizing tips, we can talk about that too. I kind of like to label things as like you would see on a stoplight. So for this route here, we have a green start, but over here at the end, I know I'm going to end over here. So let's click on that and make that red because I know I'm going to be stopping there. For anything in the middle, camp spots, I already have them labeled with the camping icon, but I like to go in here and do these either like a yellow color or just something to distinguish them from other points that I'm creating along the way. So let's do green for start. We'll do yellow for camp spots. This is going to be a multi-day trip. And then we'll do red for the ending. That way it kind of gives you like a nice visual representation of what you're going to be looking at here. Someone just brought up a good question. How do you share a folder? So I have all this information now in this folder. We did not add my water crossing. So I'll show you guys how to do that again real quick. You're going to go into all of your content, that waypoint that you created, simply add that to the folder, choose the folder that you want it added to, and it adds it as simple as that. So now if I'm going out with a bunch of friends, we were actually going to get to this at some point, but we're just going to jump right to it. I have all this data created. All I have to do is simply click share. And then you can have it as a view only if you just want to kind of send it to someone, or you can have them join it as a contributor. So I'm actually going to send this as a contributor to a friend of mine who's going to be joining me on this adventure. That way he can see all of my waypoints, he can add some of his own, and we can kind of plan our routes together, which is a really nice feature. So that's going to work the same with mobile. I personally like to, if I have access to my computer, I'll do this stuff on a desktop, but then whenever I'm sharing things, I like to share them directly from my phone. So if I share that folder from my phone, he'll be able to open it up directly in his app, and it just makes things a little bit more seamless. I guess we'll talk about using the filters to show and hide stuff again. We kind of already covered this, but if I want to really like get everything out of the way, I can turn off everything. And now I'm only seeing the things that you guys just watch me create. I rarely do this because I like to see like spur trails and other things in my area when I'm actually out traveling and like moving along this route. But if you really only want to focus on what you've actually created, then you can completely remove things like that. This is kind of a basic tip, but if you've never looked at the filters before, this is where you're going to basically pick your vehicle and what it's capable of. I'm actually going to jump right to the garage for this. So there we go. My internet may be a little bit slow, but so here are the vehicles that I will take on different adventures, dirt roads and things like that. A lot of them are similarly matched. They can do a lot of similar things, but like the van per se, if I click on that, you will notice that when I added this to my garage, I added filters to it. So generally I want to be on dirt, forest, and gravel roads, full width roads, and occasionally high clearance 4x4 trails. If I go back into something that is not as capable, currently building a rally car, I only have full width roads, dirt, forest, and gravel on this. So this is going to give me a little bit more of a narrow view of the map. Here's a look at the difference. So I'm going to be doing this route in actually my Tundra. So here's my Tundra. You can see all the filters here. If I select the keys, it's going to actually filter the map based off of what that vehicle can do. So, oh, sorry, I just messed that up. So I have my Tundra selected, and then I'm going to have all the difficulties on. So now basically anywhere here that I see, I know I can take that vehicle on. But if I go back into my garage and pick something that maybe not be as capable, So we're going to pick the rally car. You'll notice a lot of information there has left the chat. And these are all full width roads. I would probably be okay taking this vehicle on some of them, but it just gives you a more detailed look at the map for your planning and while you're actually out there adventuring. So if you guys have not added your vehicles to your garage, it's pretty cool. You can add notes and photos like you see here. You select your year, make, model, upload any kind of photos you want, and then you can also add some cool notes. You can like build out everything. You can talk about the suspension that you have. Same way with waypoints. So waypoints, once I'm actually out here, I'm actually going to do this on my phone, but I'll go into edit and I will upload photos and maybe put some notes of things that I noticed about this camp spot. That way in the future, when maybe I send this out to you guys, you'll have an idea of what the camp spot looks like. You'll maybe there's a creek nearby and I say, hey, head down this trail and you can find water, things like that. So there's a lot of information that you can pack into waypoints and routes and things like that. And basically turns this into like your personal library. I have so much information. I say this all the time, but if I like lost my onX account for some reason and I couldn't log in, I'd be devastated because I have so much information that I've created over the years all in this app. Maybe I should export this stuff so I have like a backup of it. But yeah, there's just so much data and so many things that you can create. So that's why I love using this app. We can talk about saving time with bulk actions. So you've kind of seen me you saw me do this a little bit going throughout here, but one of the main things is, of course, hiding. I can hide points individually. Like say I don't really care about this water crossing. I can go in here. Let me actually do it from the content. I can go in here and hide it from the map. So that actually gets rid of it there. It's still in the folder. It's just not visible to me right now. But if I zoom all the way out again, you'll notice a ton of points pop up here. If I go into my content up here and then show all, that's going to put all of my information back on the map here. So you'll notice a ton of points all over the place. And that's just a quick way of doing it rather than doing everything individually. So there I hid everything again, but the route that we were just working on is no longer there. So I'll go into my folder, unhide all that information, and it puts it right back on the map. Again, I feel like I'm going pretty quickly here, but if you have any questions, let me know. Someone asked how to distinguish BLM and National Forest. So over in the legend here, you can actually find that information. Under land areas, you have Bureau of Land Management, which is generally this like yellowish color here. And then any kind of national forest is going to be this like lighter green. So when you scroll into an area where a lot of them kind of butt up against each other, you'll notice a hard line here. So this over here, the green is what national forest looks like. And then this yellowish area is, of course, BLM, Bureau of Land Management. Someone asked about reservations. Let's go check out a reservation. We'll go a little bit south into, let's say like the Navajo area, if my internet can catch up. Hopefully the live stream is at least looking okay for you guys. There we go. So the reservation, I believe it is like a different shade, but you will notice that it's actually marked. It has boundaries on it and everything. So you want to take a close look at like the color coordination. Let's also look at national parks too, because obviously you can drive through a lot of national parks out in this area. So let's go into, where are we at here? Let's go into Arches, Canyonlands, Dead Horse State Park. You'll notice that that is also a different color as well. So this entire area here is going to be national parkland, where there's a little bit more restrictions and things like that. So yeah, and then state parks, like right here, Dead Horse, it's going to be this kind of like bluish color. So it's pretty easy to see once you're looking at just like a bare map. And then if you scroll all the way in, of course, you can still get public and private land data based off of the red boundaries here. And that's an elite feature. If you don't have elite, highly recommend it. You're going to get a lot more out of your maps. You can sign up for a subscription, but if you're just testing the waters, then you'll get a lot of the information that we're seeing here. How do you show the map legend? Yeah, so again, over on the left-hand side here, where you have your Discover, offline maps and everything, all the way down here, it's often overlooked because it's really small, but there is a legend option where if you're really new to onX, you can see a lot of what the trails mean. So the 60-inch wide trails, high clearance 4x4s, they're all actually marked differently on here. This one is kind of interesting, the unknown motorized access. So there's a lot of that in BLM land where it's not an actual marked trail. Actually, that's not a good example here. Let me turn on all of my information again. So like right here, off of this trail, this is a 60-inch wide. Oh, it actually went away on me. So there you can see it. Okay. So this double track here, it's clearly a trail, but you definitely want to pay attention to signs because in the legend, it's unknown motorized access. So a lot of these areas that look like a trail, it may actually not be legal to be driving on them. So pay attention to any trail that you come across that is just marked as like this dash double track because you don't want to be driving off trail. Basically, you want to be using onX to make sure you're not disrupting anything, especially in areas like this where desert soils are very, very hard to maintain when people are mistreating them. So it's kind of like a good safety net when you're kind of exploring with no real end destination. Let's see, what else do we got here? So I covered most of the talking points. I'll run through the chat again and see what else you guys may have access to. Sometimes I want to comment on the section of a route. Can I select a section of the route and comment on it? A waypoint will let me comment. So if you want to comment on a segment, I think the best way to do that would be to create a route. So let's say you have shared this route that I just did with a friend, and there's like a section right here. This section right here, let's say, looks very, very scenic. I think the best way to document things about a whole section would be to come over here again to your route building tool, and we'll say scenic views. And then you want to select the section that had the views on it. Say, wow, look off the cliffs. To the right, maybe to the right, there's something really interesting to see. You can save that. And then what I would do is go into the folder, which you're already sharing, and actually add that little route that you just created. We'll add that to the folder, and then that will update in real time as long as the other person who's collaborating on it will have access to see that. So now when they're coming across this trail, they say, hey, look, it's pink now. When they click on that, they'll be able to see the notes, maybe some photos that you've added. I think that's the best way to do that. That's a good question because I just like came up with that real quickly. But yeah, hopefully that helped you out a little bit there. How will the comments display on my phone while I'm on a trail? So basically the same way you're seeing it here, you'll have to actually click on the waypoint, the route, the lines that are created. You're going to want to click on the actual data. This is not going to be the best way to show you, but I can kind of show you on my own phone. It's going to look very similar to this. So let me find one that actually has something that we've created. So you're going to pull it up and it's going to look, this is not the best way to show you. It's going to basically show exactly how it does here in the notes. You just open up the waypoint or whatever you're trying to look at and then swipe up and you'll have your notes and photos right there. I actually want to hit on something else. This is a new feature. a little bit off topic from what we're talking about, but it really does help with planning. And that is some of the map filters. So if we go into the filter section, this is where we're talking about the difficulty level and the trail type, of course. You can also filter by the length of it. With the Elite subscription, you're going to have the public and private land data. But there are so many more things to choose from here. Wildfire layers, I often like looking at that to see where there may be some trails that are closed or just some like danger in the area. But down here, these last three are all for cell coverage. So on this route, I have T-Mobile and I know reception is not going to be good. If I turn that filter on, it's actually going to show me what the reception looks like all across the country. So you'll notice I'll have a little bit of reception here when we start. And then we are not going to have any reception, pretty much no reception all the way through until the end. So if we take an even closer, more detailed look at this, it's going to get more detailed the more you zoom in. You can see here, you have voice only where my crosshair is. You have the 4G and then you have 5G. So I'm going to have decent connection for the start of this trip, and then it will slowly taper off to voice only, maybe a couple spots of 4G here and there, and eventually into nothing. If I zoom out a little bit more, you could actually see which cell coverage is going to be the best. Verizon looks like it may be a little bit better early on, but then if we look at AT&T, you're going to have a lot more connection all throughout here. So if you have AT&T on a trip like this, it's going to be a pretty good thing to have. Let me clean up this map again too, just so you guys can see things a little bit easier. There we go. What are some other things that I use here? I guess this is going to be good too for finding camp spots if you want to be connected, or on the opposite side of that, if you don't want to be connected, you can plan accordingly for that. It's also kind of a safety feature too. So say I'm up here in the Uncompahgre mountain range and I get a flat, I break a CV. Hopefully none of that happens, but maybe I run into trouble right here. As long as I have this turned on, I'll notice that I can make a voice call from over here. So I could either limp my vehicle over to this area or maybe just go on a short little hike. And actually, I can use this as like a safety thing if I need to call for help. So definitely good to have. And then since I have pretty poor cell coverage all throughout this, I know that I'm going to want to be connected. If I don't have Starlink, what am I going to do? I want to have a lot of information here saved. So let's quickly talk about offline maps. You guys have probably done this before, since this is a pretty basic feature, but if you haven't seen it, you're going to click on offline maps on the left-hand side over here, and then scroll down to new offline map. When I click on that, it's going to show me which sections I can download. You can name this. I'll just do rugged adventure map. On a medium setting, we're only going to get small portions of the trails, and under a high resolution, it gets even smaller. So I don't need to have really high resolution data of all of this stuff because I kind of know what to expect. So I'm going to go and get the largest map possible. So right here, we have a low resolution, and I can get the entire route into one low resolution map. onX recently actually updated this. So before it was kind of like a set box that you could choose from. So I could do a smaller low resolution, or in this case, I can zoom out and get a full picture of exactly what I need. So I'm going to get as precise as possible here. I don't need anything before or after that. And now I'll say just in case. I'm going to save that. And now, obviously, I'm connected to the internet, so it downloads really quickly. I have the rugged adventure map right here. You can go straight to it by viewing it just like that. And now when I'm offline, this is a good point, actually. I did this on my computer. I'm actually not going to have the data on my phone unless I open up my phone, go to this map that I just created, and download the information to this device. So if you know you're going into an area where you're not going to have cell reception, you want to make sure that whatever device you are taking there, you have gone in and actually downloaded your map. That way you have it when you actually need it. Let's see. How do you determine if you've downloaded maps to an area in the past? So under offline maps, you can see a lot of different areas here. We'll click on this one. So I downloaded this a while ago. And again, I explored this area with some friends from Firestone. There was a lot of really cool routes and things that we did up here. I actually did like a 4-part video series if you guys want to kind of check out what this area is all about. So this is downloaded to this device, but if I'm going to do this again, I'm actually going to go into my phone and make sure that it is downloaded. If the area is not downloaded on your device, it will kind of show up as like a candy cane stripe, unless that has changed. Previously, it was like a red and white stripe box. So you know it was not completely downloaded. All you have to do is click on it, make sure it's downloaded. And then when it's green, the way you see it here, that's how you know that you're ready to go. Can you add an offline map to the folder? That's a good point. Let me see if I can do that. So offline maps. I am not sure on that. That's a great question. As of right now, I don't think there is a way to do that. That would be useful though. Let me see, add content. It's not a waypoint, it's not a track, not an area, not a line. Okay, so that is something that I will give back to the onX team. I think that actually would be a cool feature. That way, when I send out this folder to friends of mine, if they can see that I have a selected area to download, then they could simply click on it, download it to their device, and then they would have access to the same information as me. So that was a great question. Thanks for that one. Curious about the area upload. Can you go through the basics? For offline maps, let's do this again. So offline maps, I'm assuming you're talking about this for areas. So you have different resolutions here. High, it's not going to give me a box bigger than that here. Download this information, it's basically going to look exactly how it looked with really good internet connection. So you're going to have access to all of this information on a very minute level. And then in some cases, it will even give you a 3D look at everything too. So if you guys haven't used 3D maps before, again, I think this is kind of a basic feature, but I'll cover this as well pretty quickly. Over on the bottom right-hand side over here, if you're going into an area like this right here, this is perfect. We have some mesas and some cliff sides. On a standard 2D map, you can kind of tell that there's something there, but unless you have like a hybrid or a topo turned on, you won't notice that big drop there. We're going from 6,400 feet at the edge, probably all the way down to, yeah, 52. So we're looking at about 1,200 foot difference here. You can change the way your map looks based off of this stuff as well, satellite, hybrid, or simply topo. And then to take it a step further, you can click on 3D maps and then get a more detailed look at what everything is going to actually look like. I like to use this feature when scouting for camp spots. So let's actually do this quick. On the route that we just created, I marked, this is actually a campground over here that I have marked right now. It's pretty cool, but it's not as off grid as I would like it to be. So if I scroll around a little bit, I'll notice that I'm going to be coming downhill into the area where this little reservoir is. And up here, looks like there may be some cool lookout points. So basically, I will go into 3D mode and kind of follow my route until I find something that looks interesting. So like right here, we have an actual marked road, and it looks like I may be able to camp over here. And then kind of nestle in this little pocket here of that ridge. And maybe let's actually go back into 2D mode. Let's see what kind of land this is. This is BLM land. So as long as it's not posted otherwise, I could probably set up here and camp for the night. Not directly on this point, obviously, because Again, do not drive off trail, but that is another thing that I like to do when actually scouting for camp spots. Is there a way to make the color on existing routes lighter for planning a new route? Yeah, there's sort of a way to do that. So I created this route on top of the line that I imported earlier on. But say I wanted to make a new route on top of this and you want to make it a little bit easier to see. Um, I want to see routes that we've done, but not make it so busy, not so bright. So my recommendation would be to hide things. But if you want to plan a section of it on top of something that you are kind of referencing, what I would do is go in here and maybe make it like really bright and different. So if I'm going on top of this medium weight red line, maybe I want to make it yellow. I'm going to make it dotted like this. And then as I drop it along there, you'll notice that it's a stark contrast from what you've already been creating. So hopefully that answers your question. But to take it a step further, like I said, if you want to see your data, but you don't want everything that's all around you. Like right now, this is a little busy to me because I typically don't have the topo turned on. So I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to put it on a simple satellite image, just like that. If I have a lot of information, like all of this stuff here, and I don't want that, maybe I only want 50-inch wide trail, or yeah, 50-inch wide trails, single track. And basically I would use my filters to kind of narrow things down and make it a little bit more viewable. You can kind of use a combination of a lot of the features of onX to make it do what you want. And filters and hiding things that you've created from your map is a really great way to do that. Let's see what else we got here. Is there a good way to organize large volumes of routes? Yeah, I would say so. Let me see if I can actually do this on. So I'm used to using mobile for like 90% of everything that I do. There is a way. Let's see if I can do it in here. Create a new folder. I'm just going to do a test. So on mobile, I don't think this is actually something that you can use on here, but on mobile, you can actually select an area of the map that you're currently looking at and capture all of the data that's on there into a folder. So say you have a lot of routes planned, we'll say up here. Imagine these trails right here. We got like 4, maybe 5 of them. If you wanted to lump all of these routes that you've created into a folder on mobile, you can actually select what's in your screen and select things that way. So that's kind of like a bulk edit version of doing that. I wish I could show you that on here, but that's going to be a mobile feature. Is there anything you can't do on the app? You can't actually get out and see the stuff with your own eyes. So this is just one of my favorite tools. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I would like onX to do that they haven't already come up with a feature for. If you've used onX, like say 4 years ago, they have added so many cool features, some things that users like myself and you guys have been asking for, and then they implement that. So it gets better year after year. So if you guys have any feedback, definitely let the people at onX know, because there's a lot of cool features that are rolling out all of the time. And even some things that I never even thought of, like the cell coverage layer. That's one that I find myself using pretty frequently now. And that didn't even cross my mind that you could add that as a layer to a map. Adding elevation or exaggeration to trails. So if you're talking about the exaggeration of like the 3D mapping, when I go into 3D here, let me find something kind of interesting to show you this. Like here we have the LaSalle's. I'll zoom in on them. I'm assuming this is what you're talking about. The 3D exaggeration is going to be right down here as a slider. So if I make this a little bit more exaggerated, it's going to make these mountains look crazy. This is a little hard on my internet and computer right now, but if you're looking at changing the exaggeration of what things look like, that is how you do it. That makes this whole area look like another freaking planet. I generally leave it basically where it is, kind of the default setting. I feel like that's the most like natural looking, at least to me. But yeah, if you wanted to exaggerate it, that is how you can do it right there. Let me see what other questions I can answer. Got a couple minutes left, so if you have anything, drop it in the chat now, and I will try to get to it before we're out of time. If you missed anything that we've already covered, I don't want to just keep going back over things, but this will be uploaded to the onX YouTube channel. Someone asked about the map layers. It's going to be under your filters. It's going to be right down here. There's a lot of stuff here. Let's actually take a look at the precipitation radar. Oh, that made me think of something else. So I'm going to an area of Colorado this weekend, and I know the weather is going to be questionable because it is at a higher elevation. Let's say we're going to this area right here. If I click on my map options between 2D and 3D, I can turn on things like recent imagery as well as snow imagery. So recent imagery, when I turn that on, it's going to really change the look of the satellite map. It's not going to be as detailed as it is with like the bigger picture, but this is going to be pretty up to date. April 14th to the 28th of 2015, down here in the bottom, like the very bottom of the screen, you can actually see the dates that these images were captured. Same thing with snow imagery. I just drove over Vail Pass recently and it was snowing. So let's head up there and see. Let's see if there's actually snow on the ground. So I'll zoom in. I'll go to first recent imagery. So there you can see all the snow is melting off of the ski resort here, but also snow imagery mentions here it's not going to be available in all areas, but you will notice that there is quite a bit of snow on the ground there, and these get updated pretty frequently. You may come across some where it's not exactly how it looks on the map, but as long as you're looking at the recent imagery dates here, I would say that those are about as accurate as you're going to get with basically anything as of right now, unless you can connect directly to a satellite and see this stuff from space yourself. It was a little bit of a tangent, but let me get back to some questions here. I'm actually going to clean up this map again. I'm like turning features off and on all of the time, so I want to make sure you guys have like a clear view of everything that we're looking at here. I saw a few questions back to back now talking about information on, someone just said pulling a teardrop trailer, or if they have a larger, bigger rig. There's the best way to do that is going to be just simply filtering. If you're pulling a trailer, if you don't have a lock and roll hitch, or if you know, if it's like a really big, say like a 32-foot trailer, you're going to want to stay away from things like high clearance 4x4 trails. Basically, you're only going to want full width roads. Difficulty level, you're going to want the easiest thing out there, just based off of the capability of your own vehicle. You're going to go through your filters and figure out that stuff on your own. And then I would say anything that you see on the map from this point on would be a fairly safe bet. But again, drive with your own discretion, your own comfort level. If you come across something that looks a little sketchy, there's no harm in turning around. Same thing with the garage too. So if you have, say on my Tundra here, if I know I'm going to be pulling a trailer with this all the time, or maybe this is just a larger vehicle, I can go in here and actually edit the filters of it. So this is what it looks like when you enter your vehicle info. You can name it, the best description of the vehicle. You can even do side-by-sides, dirt bikes, ATV, snowmobiles, things like that. So if I'm pulling a trailer, I probably don't want to go on high clearance 4x4 trails. So I'll deselect that. In my case, I know this vehicle. And then to simply filter your maps, let's say everything is turned on. We have all difficulty levels. This is like spaghetti noodles here, a ton of information, but you're out in your vehicle pulling your trailer. Simply go into your garage, click on the keys, and it's going to filter it down based off of the vehicle that you're driving in. How would you say a stock Jeep XJ would do on high clearance 4x4 trails? I would say Jeeps are very capable. I don't own one. I've driven a few. I see them all the time. I personally know what they are capable of. And for the most part, high clearance 4x4, you're going to be completely fine. Another way to kind of navigate that, let's say we're only looking at high clearance 4x4 trails. You can also filter by the difficulty level. So, oh, 1 second. So here's an easy options in the area. So under my Discover tab here, let's check out Gunsight Pass. It's going to highlight it on the map. It's going to take me there. This is a 3 out of 10 technical rating. And then with all the information that people have added in, like photos and trail reports, you can kind of get an idea of what you're getting into. Maybe you have a lift, wheels, and tires. Maybe it's not stock anymore. So then maybe you want to up this, or maybe you drive an easy trail and realize that, hey, I could do something a little harder. You can bump that up to moderate and maybe even difficult. Now, when you go into your Discover, you're going to find the moderate and difficult trails. So you've done a 3. I think I'm going to go up to a 5 at this point. Here's a 5 rated trail in my area. Again, I can scroll around and see information that people have created. I wouldn't want to do this now because under trail reports, it's temporarily closed. There's snow about 2 miles in, and that was reported back on April 7th, expected to reopen towards the end of this month. So could be open, but based off of the last report there, might want to avoid something like that. So that's a little bit more of a look at the filters. Let's see what else. Am I missing a way to choose one town, going to another, and maybe be able to find a trail that will take me? Like something like a mapping application would do. Yeah, so you could do that a few different ways. onX actually has navigation now in the mobile app. So let me see if I can find an area where I could like use this as an example. Okay, say you want to go from Delta here. Actually, this is not going to be a good option. Let me go into Utah. It's a little flatter over here. I'm just gonna try it just randomly here. All right, so we have 2 towns in this area, and you want to see what routes are possible through this area. So say you're starting maybe down here. There's a gas station or something nearby. We'll just start on the side of the road right here. I'm gonna build a route from where I'm at in this town, but now I want to go up to this town here. Instead of taking the normal route, which like a typical GPS would take you all the way on pavement, all the way around here, when I build a route up into a different area using the Snap to feature, you'll notice that it created something that probably wouldn't show up on a GPS. So here, I'm just going to save that route that I just created. You can actually zoom in and see what type of trails that you're driving on here. I'm going to turn on more of these filters again so we have more information. And you'll notice that this is actually a dirt road here that will connect the 2 towns together. In some cases, GPS may take you that way, but with onX Offroad, if you build a route like that and then turn on onX navigation heading to a point over here, it's going to give you turn-by-turn directions on your mobile device with Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. So that's kind of an interesting way to do that. Does onX have trails for all of the states in the US? Last time I checked, there's over like 600,000 miles of trail data or something like that. Um, yeah, I would say a large majority of the states do have some kind of trail information. Let's go back to where I actually grew up, where there was not a lot of trails. You'll notice on a big zoomed out area here, there's actually points of interest here. Roush Creek was a big one around me when I was growing up. So here in like kind of central eastern Pennsylvania, if I zoom in on these points of interest, we have the Reading Anthracite area, we have Roush Creek, and these are like tight clusters of trails. This is like a proper off-road park. Pretty interesting. It's not something that I actually did, but yeah, you can just kind of scroll around on the map and see where trails are located all throughout the country, all the way up here, even into Maine. I think we're up to 2 trails in Nebraska. Let's check on Nebraska for you. So with the current information that I have on here, you'll notice I have my wildfire layer turned on. So there's actually a fire. This one's kind of interesting too. And if I scroll in on it, up north of here, there are 2 fires indicated, and they are RX, which means basically like a prescribed burn. This one right here, Plum Creek, if I click on it, this is 100% contained, so that's good. And this is going to give you information on fires in the areas that you're looking at. This, if you want to turn this on, if this is not turned on already, again, you're going to go back into your filters and go down to the map layers and active wildfires. You can see right there. If I turn on the air quality index, a lot of times you can even see smoke from some areas. Luckily, not much of the country is on fire right now. But here you can see some areas that may be affected by wildfires. Here's a little fire up near like Eastern Washington, Spokane area. And the air quality is going to be a little bit poor in this area. So you may want to avoid that area if you're sensitive to smoke. And all of that stuff, again, is found over here in the filters. Temperature is an interesting one. I don't use this often, but I'm really sick of the cold. As of lately, I'm ready for spring and summer. So this would actually be an interesting way to kind of plan your route too. So looking at the route with the temperature turned on, I'll notice that it's going to be a little chilly coming through for like the first day of this route. And then once we dip down into like getting closer to the border of Utah, it's going to warm up. Coming back up over this mountain range, it's definitely going to cool down. And then it should be nice and warm once we get over into the Moab area. So you guys are like forcing me to learn new things here. I've actually never even really considered turning that on, but I like that. All right. We're at 7 o'clock, so no more questions, but thank you guys for tuning in. If you are just catching the end of this, you can find it over on the onX YouTube channel. So get subscribed over there. And I will be showing you guys this route in real time pretty soon over on my own channel. You can find me at Talon Sci. It's just TALONSEI. And yeah, stay tuned for some more onX off-road tips in the future. Thanks, guys.